Okay. Good morning, my fellow Batards. I like this series, so I guess I'm just gonna continue it because why not? So basically, in the last part, I went over to the USJ arc.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
Hikaru is bored, sitting on the hospital bed, staring outside. Mr. Aisawa, why did you choose to become the type of hero that you are? Hikari asked. Mr. Aisawa just stared at Hikari in shock. There was a small pause, and then Mr. Aisawa replied, I am the way I am by what happened 2 decades ago. There was nothing more that Mr. Aisawa said. Hikari sat there in silence. Then he asked a nurse to get him some crutches. When he got his crutches, he said his goodbyes to Mr. Aisawa. Hikari staggered out of the room with the crutches. Hey, you shouldn't be walking around in that state, one of the nurses yelled. Hikari tried ignoring them, walking faster, but he fell over. The nurses rushed over to Hikari. Your legs, they don't have enough strength. It will take a month for you until your legs are fully healed again. Hikari's eyes widened. You said a month? All the nurses just nodded. Hikari lowered his head. He began trying to lift himself up, but the nurses held him down, so he wouldn't cause any more damage to his body. You'll be not to be permitted to use your quirk for at least 2 weeks, one of the nurses said, or your legs might not be able to recover. Hikari was shocked at what he was hearing. Hikari began shaking his head and being dismissive. I'll be able to use my quirk, Hikari said angrily, quickly getting up and walking from the nurses as fast as he could. Hikari tried using his quirk when he was walking home, but each time he tried, he got a sudden pain through his legs, making him scream. Hikari stopped. He heard some familiar voices. Hikari looked around, trying to figure out where it was coming from. Then he realized it was coming from the TV. Coming from the TVs from the TV store. Hikari stared and saw his classmates being interviewed. Some of the questions were about him and how they talked positively about him, but most of the questions were about how they felt after being attacked by the League of Villains. Most of them said that they were scared, but the heroes kept them safe. Then the news switched to a live stream with the principal of UA, but Hikari was already bored, so he carried himself home on his crutches. When Hikari got home, his grandparents rushed to him. Oh my god, Kari, you okay? They said worriedly. Hikari laughed sheepishly. Grandma, do you think that pulled muscles and a dissolved left arm was okay? Hikari. Okay. Hikari's grandparents looked even more worried. But don't worry, the doctors healed most of my injuries. Then Hikari walked up the stairs into his room. When Hikari opened the door, he noticed that his Hawk posters that were usually on the wall next to his bed were gone. Then he noticed that the majority of his figures and clothes were all gone. Too tired to care, Hikari fell asleep on his sheetless bed. The next day, Hikari awoke to his grandparents shaking him awake. Kari, dear, it's time to get up before the visitors get here. Wait, what? We're going to have some visitors coming? Hikari was a little bit confused. Hikari tried getting out of his bed, totally forgetting what happened the other day. But before his grandparents could stop him, he fell out of his bed. Hikari then lifted himself up and grabbed his crutches and rushed to put on his clothes. When he finally got down the goddamn stairs, 2 figures were sitting on the couch opposite his grandparents. Oh, speaking of which, here he is. Hikari walked into the room, and to his surprise, the 2 people who were there was the principal and All Might? Wait, what are you doing? What are you guys doing here? Hikari said, taking a seat next to his grandparents. Oh good, you're finally here. We're just discussing your future at UA, All Might said. Exactly, the principal chimed in. We believe that your attendance is quite appalling, to say the least. But we have a solution, Principal Nezu said. Then All Might said, we believe that you should have a dorm at UA. You barely ever show up for class for a full day, and your academics are suffering because of this. That's why you should come to live in a dorm at UA. Hikari sat there in silence for a bit. He then stared at his grandparents as if to ask them if it was okay with them to move to UA dorm. Hikari's grandparents just nodded as if they were stunned. Then they slowly turned their heads towards Hikari, fury in their eyes. What is this, Kari dear? I thought that you were doing well in school. Hikari just laughed nervously. Hikari is doing exceptionally well in his related physical activities. He's just doing bad in his academics. That is why we want him to move to UA, All Might said. Oh, he's going to live at UA's dorm. We've already packed all his belongings. Oh, so that is why my room is so plain and empty, Hikari thought. Well, that's great. Grab your stuff and we'll be leaving, Principal Nezu said. After that, Hikari had to move his stuff from upstairs that wasn't already packed into the moving truck. And thanks to All Might, they were able to move his bed downstairs. After that, Hikari just said goodbye to his grandparents. They were crying, but they said they weren't. When Hikari got to his dorm, he realized that it really wasn't a dorm, more like a whole house to himself. Is this where I'm staying? Hikari is a little bit shocked, to say the least. When he walked inside, there was a living room area, a kitchen/dining area with simple appliances, a fridge, oven, dishwasher, and a microwave. There was a bedroom. There was a single room, but it was completely empty, as he hadn't moved anything into it yet. All Might dumped all of his stuff out the front of his house, then he rushed away. Hikari was a little bit shocked, but it didn't matter. Hikari began moving his stuff into the building, except his bed, which he couldn't work out how to get into the house. So he just left it outside and went to the closest furniture store that he could find, and he got a futon. It was much lighter and easier to carry with his crutches. When he got back to the dorm, it was already night, so he just dumped the futon on the floor and fell asleep. So anyway, that's basically the end of this video. I know it's quite a little bit shorter than the other ones, but yeah. Anyway, if you want to read the stories before I release them on YouTube, go into Wattpad. I'm just going to be posting my what ifs a little bit before YouTube onto there, so yeah. Anyway, have a nice day, you fellow batards, and I'll see you guys Monday maybe. Goodbye.